Kazuya Kagami, an ordinary boy, finds his life turned upside down when his late mother's obai transforms into a girl wearing a kimono named Kiriha. She happens to be a Tsukimagami called a Tsugumomo, objects that have gained a soul through long years of harmony with their owners. Kazuya starts his day with unclear dreams of his past, only to wake up surrounded by Kiriha, Kyukuri, and Kokayu in his bed. After shooing them away, he's confronted by Kasumi, who disapproves of Kiriha's presence. Amidst the chaos, Kazuya rushes to get ready for school, reminding Kiriha of their obligations. At school, Kazuya's friends inquire about his unusual living arrangements, leading to a mock trial initiated by Shiru, accusing Kazuya of misconduct for cohabiting with Kiriha. Following this, Kazuya confides in his friends about Kiriha's identity as a Tsukimagami and his desire to form a club to tackle paranormal occurrences around the school. They reveal Kazuya's status as a taboo child and agree to join his cause, along with Tadeka Tadeda and Nanako Nanakai, who are recovering from curse-related setbacks. During their first meeting, the club discusses recent peculiar incidents involving missing underwear after swimming classes. That night, Chisato dreams of Kazuya as intruders, and Azami and Mimane Miyu pilfer her belongings. The next day, during swim class, Chisato encounters a mysterious creature in the locker room. Kazuya's club convenes to investigate, suspecting an Amasogi's presence. They devise a plan to lure the culprit using bait, eventually capturing a pair of animated frog-themed pants identified as Chisato's. When confronted, Chisato denies having any attachment to the underwear, triggering its transformation into a giant frog monster. In the ensuing battle, Chisato admits ownership, which resolves the conflict. Understanding the underwear's loneliness, they offer Kazuya's boxers to the Amasogi, facilitating its peaceful departure. Following this bizarre incident, Osamu's TV interview highlights the group's involvement, while Kasumi puzzles over Kazuya's missing underwear. Meanwhile, Yasuki Yatsukawa and his associates prepare for future aberrations. Kazuya shares with Kyukuri a dream featuring Kiriha and a woman with a black obai, leading Kyukuri to suspect his sealed memories are resurfacing due to his use of Ascension. Meanwhile, Kiriha arrives at the Sumeragi residence to find no one answering the door. Suddenly, Sunao is ejected from the house, followed by Suzumu Sumeragi, who becomes emotional over Sunao's well-being. Amidst the chaos, Sunao loses a duel with her mother, Suzuri Sumeragi. Inside the house, Sunao apologizes to Kiriha for the trouble she's caused Kazuya and her. She confides in Kiriha about Kotsu undergoing repairs and expresses relief over his safety. Inquiring about Kanaka's demise, Sunao learns from Kiriha that she killed her after she was possessed. Later, Kazuya arrives at the Sumeragi mansion and experiences an ominous sensation. Unaware of Suzumu's intentions to confront him, Kazuya is ushered inside by Suzuri. Sunao, dressed in a kimono, expresses her remorse to Kazuya and acknowledges his role in her self-reflection. She then surprises Kazuya by proposing a relationship, indicating that he must marry her to continue their martial arts training. Suzuri interrupts the moment, observing their interactions and subjecting them to various tests, including bathing and sleeping together. Despite Sunao and Kazuya's attempts to comply with Suzuri's tests, Suzumu's interference repeatedly disrupts the proceedings. Ultimately, Suzuri punishes them for their deception. Afterward, Sunao insists on training with Kazuya to maintain their charade, revealing her feelings of embarrassment and uncertainty about their faux intimacy. As the night progresses, Sunao grapples with her emotions while contemplating the authenticity of her feelings for Kazuya. Kyukuri undertakes the task of purging the accumulated curse around Kamioka from Hakusen Shrine, but the effort leaves her weakened, leading to her collapse. Meanwhile, at school, Kiriha updates Kazuya on Kyukuri's collapse the previous night, emphasizing that continuing his exorcist duties is crucial to alleviating her burdens. The school day proceeds with Mitsuri Mizushima's impressive track and field achievements, overshadowed by her complicated relationship with her classmate, Mana Manaka. As Mitsuri reflects on Mana's supportive role in her life, Akito Ashimin observes from a distance, his intentions unclear. In the Personal Advice Club, Kiriha, Kazuya, and their peers address various requests, with Shiru's flirtatious behavior drawing criticism. Despite the lighthearted banter, the atmosphere shifts when Shiru's love letter mix-up with Mana Manaka leads to an unexpected romantic development between him and Mitsuri. As Mitsuri navigates her newfound relationship, Mana's intervention warns of Shiru's reputation, fueling Mitsuri's insecurities. A date between Mitsuri and Shiru reveals underlying tensions as Mitsuri grapples with comparisons to Mana and doubts about her self-worth. Shiru's confession about the love letters intended recipient adds to Mitsuri's turmoil, culminating in the revelation of an amisogi in her possession. Concerned for Mitsuri's safety, Shiru alerts the club members, who race to intercept her before disaster strikes. Outside Mana's house, Kazuya confronts Mitsuri, suspecting her intentions, but their confrontation escalates when Mana reveals her manipulation of Mitsuri's abilities. Betrayed and conflicted, Mitsuri confronts Mana, triggering a chain of events culminating in a desperate battle on a bridge. Despite Kazuya and Kiriha's intervention, Mana succumbs to the amisogi's influence, endangering Mitsuri's life. In a decisive moment, Mitsuri's heartfelt plea to Mana for reconciliation proves instrumental in breaking the amisogi's hold. As Kazuya and Kiriha use Ascension to vanquish the cursed shoes, the immediate threat subsides, but lingering questions remain about the circumstances surrounding Mana's possession. At school, Mana's wheelchair-bound state prompts reflection on the consequences of their ordeal, with Mitsuri's transformed appearance signaling her newfound resolve. Shiru's romantic advances are rebuffed, and Kiriha's suspicions hint at deeper machinations at play, leaving the group wary of future challenges. Kazuya wakes up as a girl, Kiriha rubs her and screams, and Kasumi rushes to Kazuya's room to punish her. At school, Kazumi and Kiryu meet with their friends Shiramin, Asanai, and Shikeshi, who discuss the spread of sleep sickness among the students. They find out that one of the absent students is Kyukuri, who is rumored to be the cause. Kazuya, Kiriha, Kyukuri, and Chisato investigate the first sleep sickness victim's home, but they find no response. They return to the clubroom to discuss the spread of sleep sickness among the students. The first 3 victims are marked as sick instead of absent. Kazuya confronts Isuzu, their teacher, who retreats into her dream world and falls asleep. They identify her pillow as the amisogi and invite the pillowed Tsugumomo Bakura to help them enter the dream and convince Isuzu to destroy the amisogi from within. Bakura explains how the dream world works to them, sending Kazuya, Kiriha, Chisato, Osamu, and Shiru inside. Tadadaka stays in the real world to watch out for any issues. Inside the dream world, Kazuya and Kiriha confront Isuzu, pleading with him to leave the dream and destroy the pillow. Isuzu denies their request and reveals that they had planned for their arrival, but the fake pillow they had stolen was a fake. The fake pillow burst into flames, and their shadow selves manifest. The 4 burst through the school building to the outside, fighting with the shadows of other students and their own. Isuzu preaches about their shadows being more obedient and offers to release the students if they accept their shadow selves. Chisato rejects her proposition, stating that her proposition is more than forcibly controlling her students. As Kazuya and Kiriha battle with their shadow selves, they find themselves being overpowered and slowly taking over. Chisato, Osamu, and Shiru escape to a classroom with the help of a girl who reveals herself to be the real Isuzu. Isuzu explains that her students never took her seriously and that she eventually stumbled upon the pillow. She uses Yajijakugo idioms to power herself up and transforms into a giant spider. Kazuya and his shadow self have a final clash using spiral weaves, and Kazuya defeats his shadow. The shadow covers Osamu and Chisato in the web, but they are saved by Kazuya, who saves them from the spider after rescuing Shiru first. Kazuya flips the spider over and restrains it, allowing Isuzu to destroy the pillow. Bakura messages them all to return to sleep in the dream world to wake up in reality. Kazuya and Kiriha are in their room when a doorbell rings, and they are met by a distraught Sunao. Sunao informs Kazuya, Kiriha, and Kyukuri that Kotsu has been unable to wake up since being repaired, and Kyukuri advised her to seek the Echo Stone within the Divine Naval Cave. She warns Hanoka that it is too dangerous for her to go alone. The group travels by train to their destination and rents a room in a luxurious hotel. Kazuya is amazed by the hotel's luxury, while Kiriha explains that their accommodations were taken care of. Sunao dreams of having a conversation with Kotsu, but he apologizes. She wakes up from her dream before reaching out to him. She sees Kiriha and Kazuya sleeping together, and then examines Kotsu to reflect. The next day, the 3 walk through a forest and reach a cave with a giant stone tablet. Sunao places Kotsu on the Echo Stone and prays for him to wake up. A plant-like bulb appears, and Kotsu sleeps in his human form. Sunao apologizes and begs him to wake up. Amasogi appears, which Sunao recognizes as past victories. Kiriha identifies them as manifestations of Kotsu's self-doubt. Sunao is told to give Kotsu what he wants, but he continues calling out, apologizing, and contemplating his desires. Kotsu dreams of hearing Sunao's voice while sleeping, believing he is imagining it. Reflecting on past failures, he fears Sunao will tell him he's not needed. Suwu Sumeragi manifestation appears, warning him that fear and doubt will dull his edge as a katana and urging him to focus on his desires. The aberration that killed Suwu is among the Amasogi who defeated Kazuya. It devours Kotsu's orb, and Sunao tries to run towards it. Kazuya suggests using Ascension, but Kiriha rejects it. The monster swallows Kotsu, and Sunao breaks down into tears. They realize their desire to be together, and Kotsu is reawakened. Sunao and Kotsu apologize and hold each other, while Kazuya cries. The aberration attacks them, but is defeated as they use Ascension to destroy it. Returning to the hotel, Kazuya and Kiriha express joy for the two, while Sunao remains immobile. They explain the side effects of Ascension to her. They thank Kukuri for her help, and Kiriha explains that the commotion was caused by the thought of a Tsugumomo not being wanted by their owners. Kazuya reassures Kiriha that he wishes to be with her forever. Sunao thanks Kukuri for paying for their stay, which confuses Kukuri. Kokayu informs Kukuri that Tagiri Kanyama has come to collect Kukuri, which confuses her. Kiriha approves, and Tagiri drags Kukuri away. Kazuya realizes that Tagiri had paid for their expenses, and Kiriha reveals she had traded Kukuri away for 3 days. Isuzu speaks with the Personal Advice Club, telling them that her Amasogi pillow was given to her, but she cannot recall by whom. The group suspects that the recent Amasogi incidents were caused deliberately, but wonders why. Mamane rocks back and forth in her chair, complaining about being bored. She blames Kazuya and Kiriha for destroying the previous Amasogi and exclaims her desire to take them out, prompting Azami to attack Mamane and Yasuki to defend her. Akido tells the two to stop and apologizes to Azami. Azami reminds them of their deal and disappears. Yasuki questions if they can truly trust her, but Akido says they have no choice. Several hundred years ago, in a certain house, Akido, Arumi, and Hifumi all became Tsugumomo at the same time. As surrogate siblings, they made a deal with the master of the house to serve them, but on the condition that they be treated as people as well. The master found the most use out of Hifumi and her ability to manipulate luck. They lived peacefully for a while until monsters began attacking the village and Hifumi began to weaken. Hifumi told her siblings that the monsters were the result of their master abusing Hifumi's power by having villagers continually roll Hifumi's die to avoid falling into misfortune and becoming a monster himself. When Hifumi tried to stop their master, he threatened the well-being of Akido and Arumi, forcing Hifumi into compliance. When Akido and Arumi told the villagers what their master was doing, they formed a mob, killing not only their master but Hifumi as well. They soon turned their weapons towards Akido and Arumi, leaving Akido no choice but to slay them all. The two sworn siblings would leave the village, wandering and shifting from one master to the next, eventually growing tired of serving anyone. One day, Akido and Arumi came across a red bowl floating through a river. Upon retrieving the bowl, a gateway opened up, bringing the two to a pocket dimension they would alter, known as Mayoiga. Upon entering Mayoiga, they were immediately attacked by Yasuki, who shot an arrow towards their feet. Being unable to negotiate with Yasuki, Akido was forced to defend himself and Arumi until Mamane arrived and interrupted their battle out of curiosity. The two were brought to Tanman, who formally welcomed them to Mayoiga and explained its existence to them. Akido and Arumi lived in Mayoiga peacefully, but at the same time, Akido wondered about various aspects of Mayoiga, which Tanman and the others had refrained from explaining so far. One day, two Tsugumomo reverted back to their original forms. It was then Tanman told Akido and Arumi the truth about Mayoiga, how their founder Miyarahi obtained the power to create Mayoiga by killing a god and stealing their stone shard to use as their own. He tells them that their current shard's power is waning and asks if they will aid Mayoiga in killing a god to obtain a new one. After thinking it over, Akido and Arumi decide to join Mayoiga in their hunt for a stone shard. Using Arumi's power of divination, they decided when it was best to act. As time passed and more of them lost power, some Tsugumomo began to grow discontent with relying on Arumi's divination. But soon after, Arumi received a divination of a black mass. Aikido, Arumi, Mimane, Yasuki, and Chikage captured and brought it to Meoiga. There, the black mass revealed itself as Azami. Azami gave them information on which god was the most suitable target and how to weaken them further. Aikido, Arumi, Mimane, and Yasuki were sent to Kamioka to carry out Azami's plan. Back in the present, Aikido reminds the other three that they need Azami's cooperation for their goals. From an alleyway, Azami spies on Kazuya and Kiriha going to an arcade. Aikido fails to get a toy for Mimane from the crane game, but Mimane recognizes Kazuya and invites her to play with them. Kazuya recognizes Aikido from their class and welcomes him to play with them. However, Azami watches them from afar and her curse accumulates. The four are pulled into the arcade games world, where they face Hiroki Hirohashi, the owner and host of the tournament. Kiriha fights first against her opponent, Dorman, who is defeated due to her lack of understanding of fighting game mechanics. As a penalty for her loss, Kiriha is dressed in a bikini and cat ears. Aikido enters the ring, defeating Dorman and penalizing the opponent with a costume change. Mimane battles Namikawa in the next match, using her powers to reflect an attack, getting an instant KO. Kazuya and Kiriha are surprised by Mimane's ability, while Aikido is stupefied by her actions. Hiroki reveals himself as the sword-wielding Kenshiro, who is defeated by Kazuya. The five leave the arcade world as Hiroki agrees to destroy the Amasogi. As they return to the real world, Azami looks around for them. My name kisses Kazuya, angering Azami further. Azami accidentally destroys the ceiling, which begins collapsing on her, but she is saved by Kazuya. Kazuya offers Azami a handkerchief to wipe her face, and Azami calms down and blushes. Kiriha asks Mimane if she is a mirror Tsugumomo, which Mimane confirms to Aikido's dismay. Kiriha suggests the two of them be friends, while Aikido is forced to explain that he is Mimane's owner. The next day, Aikido and Arumi are trapped by an Amasogi along with Kazuya and Kiriha. Aikido introduces the two to Arumi as his sister, and Wakana Wakasaka reveals herself as the Amasogi's owner and explains the rules of her game. The two pairs are forced to roll dice to progress and answer intimate questions as they do. Aikido and Arumi are eventually separated from the other two, and Aikido is knocked out before Wakana can reveal the answer. They finish the game and Aikido informs Kazuya and Kiriha that Wakana destroyed the Amasogi as a reward for finishing the game and explains why she used it. Kazuya invites Aikido to join their club, but Aikido rejects. Kiriha hints towards Mimane having told her something about Aikido, successfully blackmailing Aikido to join the club. Later that night, Aikido explains to Yasuki and Mimane that he has joined Kazuya's club. More of Kazuya's memories are returning, but he still can't figure out that Kanaka is his mom. But she tells him to get ready. Azami is quite smitten with Kazuya. She is smelling his handkerchief. Because of that, she allows Aikido and Mimane to join the club, so long as they don't hurt the exorcists. With the duo officially joining the club, Kiriha wants to see what they can do because, with perfect timing, there is an Amasogi case. Some guy shut himself inside a sea urchin. With Mimane's mirror able to imitate anything, she becomes Kiriha's obai for Aikido to use. They can't break the shell, until Shiru suggests luring him out using girls. Hence, Mimane imitates Kiriha and Arumi, but they don't want to be embarrassed. Not until Kiriha makes Mimane strip does the culprit come out of his shell. Case close. Aikido's worries increase because Mimane becomes good friends with Kyukuri, so much that she is at Kazuya's place. But soon, Tagiri brings back a wounded Kokayu. She explains that she encountered 4 Tsukimagami who are trying to seek refuge here from their tyrannical masters. However, Kokayu found holes in their story and wouldn't accept them, so they attacked her. They only backed down because Tagiri was here and warned them about some threat. Kyukuri tells them about Meoiga's case and knows they are here to kill her for her shard. As the enemy is regrouping outside, they make plans to fight them. While Mimane reports back to Yasuki and others about the developments in the situation, Yasuki thinks they could team up and kill Kyukuri, but Mimane knows that even with 8 of them, they will not be able to defeat Kyukuri. Kazuya and others get ready to fight as the assailants are here. The battle starts. We have Aikido and Mimane taking on the ferocious axe guy. Tagiri is facing off with a fat shield guy and a skinny fan guy. On the other side, Kazuya and Kiriha combo against the arrogant flute girl. Our heroes are losing at first until it's time to turn the tables. When the flute girl mocks how she enjoyed hurting Kokayu, this makes Kazuya mad, so he forcefully does divine possession with Kiriha by calling her real name Ayasakura to show some power moves. The flute girl got so scared that she wet herself and fainted. The others also win their matches, but those guys aren't as lucky as the flute girls since they got killed off. It is then that Mimane points out why these guys are purposely fighting them like this a trap. Meanwhile, there are other Mayoiga Tsukimagami now before Kyukuri, but when they arrive, to their shock, Kyukuri destroys one of them. Eventually, she destroys all of them. Kiriha beats her up because she didn't leave at least one for interrogation. The flute girl is so terrified and has used up all her powers that she has reverted to her flute form. Hence, they leave her in Kazuya's care for now to restore enough of her spiritual powers. Later, as Akito rues that more Mayoiga comrades are dead, he thinks he still needs to report back when Arami comes running in with bad news. It looks like there is a revolt back at Mayoiga. Kiriha asks Tagiri about the recent assassination attempt, and she explains that she has contacted Takamagahara about the incident. Kazuya asks if they are sending more gods as reinforcement, which Tagiri denies, explaining the dangers of doing so. She tells them that they contacted Tsuzura Temple, who will send help. Akito and the others arrive in Mayoiga, witnessing several smoking buildings in the distance. They are suddenly surrounded by clay structures from Sanjuro, which attack them. Azami tells them to kill Sanjuro, telling them Sanjuro has already killed several Mayoiga Tsugumomo. Mimane uses her abilities to find Sanjuro among the clay figures, allowing Akito to kill him. Chikage arrives to greet them, explaining that Sanjuro was the last of the revolters and telling them to speak with Tanman for more details. Akito and Yasuki speak with Tanman, who explains that the entire radical group within Mayoiga rebelled, and in Genbu's absence, the remaining Tsugumomo ran amok. Tanman reminds them that Tsukimagami cannot exist without humans and are forbidden to do such a thing. Akito debriefs Tanman about what occurred to Genbu and his group, and Tanman estimates their entire village would not be enough to defeat Kyukuri. Kazuya wakes up and heads to the bathroom, where he finds Sunao naked and is punched for walking in. Kyukuri explains that Sunao and Kotsu were sent as reinforcements by Tsuzura Temple. Sunao tells them to live at Kazuya's place for the time being. Sunao transfers to Kazuya's school, where she introduces herself to her class. Shiro expresses his excitement over the news of a new attractive female companion, Sunao, joining their personal advice club. Sunao and Kotsu introduce themselves, and Shiro violently shakes Kazuya by the collar. Sunao takes Kazuya out to train under the bridge, where Sunao begins choking out Kazuya for bailing out on his previously promised training sessions. Kazuya and Sunao spar unarmed, and Kazuya admits defeat. Sunao tells them they will be sparring with their Tsugumomo next, but Kazuya tells her Kiriha has been busy as of late. At home, Kazuya is blindfolded while bathing with Sunao. Sunao explains that bathing with Kazuya was her mother's idea, and they need to fool her. Sunao asks Kazuya if something has happened between him and Kiriha, and Kazuya explains that he used her true name to order Kiriha the other day, and though he apologized, he still has not been forgiven. Kazuya tells Kiriha that she is the only Tsukimagami partner for him, and he wants to stay together with her forever. Kiriha smiles and tells Kazuya to get her some pudding to be fully forgiven. Sunao and Kazuya spar again under the bridge, using their Tsugumomo and with Kyukuri overseeing them while Osamu, Chisato, and Shiro watch. Kazuya thanks Sunao for helping him resolve things with Kiriha, disappointing Sunao and causing her to sulk. By a river, Akito contemplates his conversation with Kazuya before leaving. Kazuya tells Akito he will not torture answers out of Kyoyuka, understanding that she and the other Mayoiga may have been unfairly treated by humans. Arumi arrives to tell Akito that Tanman is calling for a meeting. At the meeting, Tanman reawakens Miyarahi and announces that Mayoiga will begin their full assault on Kyukuri to claim her stone shard. A giant ship carrying the Mayoiga Tsukimagami emerges from the ground into the sky, carrying the invading forces. Miyarahi uses his abilities to make the ship invisible, and Kyukuri, Kiriha, and Kazuya head to the Hakusen shrine to await the enemy's arrival. Tagiri arrives with Omoikane, who introduces himself to Kazuya. Kyukuri tells Kokayu to remain in bed to heal, but Kokayu refuses. Azami observes Kamioka from the outskirts of the town's barrier, and Azami speaks with Miyarahi and the Mayoiga members, telling them not to harm Kamioka's exorcist, Kazuya. Azami grows angry and emits curses before Akito calms her down, stating he will deal with Kazuya and Kiriha. Azami tells them she will not be joining the battle as she cannot enter Kamioka. As Mayoiga approaches Kamioka, Miyarahi gives a speech reminding them of their duty. They are caught in a mesh of fire, dispelling their invisibility. A projection of Hanoka reveals herself and warns them to retreat. Miyarahi signals to Mimane to take action, and the Mayoiga Tsukimagami battles with Hanoka's projection until she destroys the ship, only for it to be revealed as an illusion. Hanoka realizes the ship was a decoy, and their forces have already split apart to reach Kamioka. Miyarahi's group reaches Hakusen Shrine and faces off against Kukuri and her group, exchanging introductions before he and Kukuri clash. Kukuri easily overpowers Miyarahi, and Arumi and Akito watch from behind the bushes, shocked by the turn of events. Miyarahi had told the others he would fight one-on-one with Kukuri to decrease casualties, but Akito was frustrated that they were unable to predict Azami betraying them despite using Arumi's divination. As Hanoka battles the Mayoiga forces, their ship suddenly reveals itself and Miyarahi's power vanishes. The ship collapses, and dozens of Tsukimagami revert to their original forms as they fall. Shin catches Tanman, but does not have enough power to catch everyone. Hanoka catches the falling Tsukimagami, and Tanman questions why she would help them. She tells them to give up or risk more casualties, offering to use her power to keep them alive. Tanman reluctantly accepts, and the remaining Myoja forces surrender. Kanaka is revived with Miyarahi's stone shard and clothing herself in Azami's obai. She thanks the two Azamis and greets Kukuri and her old friends. Kanaka prepares to battle them, but is interrupted by Chikage and the remaining Mayoiga Tsukimagami. They attack Kanaka, but are defeated in an instant. Kazuya, Kukuri, and Kiriha are frightened by Kanaka's power, and Kiriha tells Kazuya he should flee. Akito and Arumi are shocked by Kanaka's power, failing to find any openings in her defenses, even with Arumi's divination. Kiriha clings to Kazuya, telling him to flee, but Kukuri states they cannot. She tells Kazuya that she and the others will weaken Kanaka for him to finish off. Kanaka gets bored of waiting and tells them to come over and fight. Kukuri expresses her regrets and guilt over what happened to Kanaka, to which Kanaka tells Kukuri to undo the seal she put on Kazuya's memories to make up for it. As they are speaking, Teguri attacks Kanaka from behind, but Kanaka blocks it. Sanao joins the fray and uses Ascension after Kanaka avoids most of the damage. Kukuri attacks Kanaka with Susuo Mizuchi, which she attempts to block with a watershed weave, but it is cut by Sanao's final attack before Ascension wears off. Kanaka is caught in a three-way attack by Kukuri, Taguri, and Omoikane, incapacitating her. As Kukuri calls over to Kazuya to finish her, Azami appears and ambushes the three gods. Kanaka uses Ascension to kill Kukuri and take her stone shard. After seeing Kukuri die, Kokayu flies at Kanaka in a rage, but is taken out with no effort. Kiriha thinks back to when she promised Kanaka that she would protect her. Kiriha reaffirms to Kazuya that the Kanaka is an Amasogi he created and needs to defeat. Kazuya uses Ascensions and clashes against Kanaka, but is overpowered. Kanaka expresses her disappointment and goes in for the killing blow. Kiriha uses herself as a shield to save Kazuya, but is killed in the process. Kasumi saves Kazuya by kicking him back and releasing her Chugomomo Sayori. They promise to buy Kazuya 3 years to defeat Kanaka. Kazuya awakens in his room, calling out the others, but no one answers. His father calls him down to the living room where he, Bakura, and Aohai Oriabana await. Aohai introduces herself and explains what happened after he lost consciousness. They find a large black dome at Hakusen Shrine, where they find a projection of Sayori that leaves a message explaining they have trapped Kanaka within a time-stopping barrier for 3 years to buy time. Aohai tells Kazuya that they have no other option but to deal with Kanaka, and he is to come train at Tsuzura Temple. Aohai asks Kazuya what he will do, but he does not respond. After leaving, Kazuya washes his face and prepares to leave. Aohai expresses surprise to Bakura that Kazuya regained his resolve so quickly. Kazuaki admits to knowing what was going on, but Kazuya thanks them for their protection and promises to repay them. Bakura tells Aohai she knew Kazuya would regain his resolve from his dreams. Thank you for watching till the end and don't forget to subscribe.